Here we go! Welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Gujita. Kasama na naman si Kristan. Thank you so much, brother, for making time. Medyo short notice, I reached out to you and I'm glad that you were available. Perfect to break down the week and the weeks to come together. Kamusta, brother?
Okay naman, sobrang daming ganap ngayong linggo na to, no? Actually, all over the world, ang politika ngayon ay sobrang mainit. At masarap pag-usapan. At the same time din, sobrang grabe yung uncertainty ngayon ano, sa mga hinaharap nating lahat. Ano? Not just in the Philippines, but all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, just kanina lang, the Prime Minister of Poland said that they're looking at getting their own nuclear weapons. The South Koreans are also talking openly about developing their own nuclear weapons. I mean, these are nuclear weapon threshold states, no? They're a few screwdrivers away. So thanks to our good friend Donald, to our
Yeah.
MAGA friends, the world is unrolling in many
You
different
know,
directions. Yeah.
pero alam mo, di ba, Richard, like, I think you know naman that I am fairly in the middle when it comes to this. I like some of the policies Trump is doing. There are some policies I don't like. Pero in this case, with the way he's handling the Ukraine war, I absolutely disagree with it. At saka dahil din sa ginagawa niya, nakikita mo na nagkakaroon talaga ng, yun na nga, yung New World Order. At nagulat ako because even in Europe, there are going to be, it seems like two types of Europe na nagko-coalition right now. 'Di ba? Yung isang Europe is siding with Trump and then the other half of Europe is siding with Ukraine. It's gonna be really interesting what's gonna happen and what I'm worried about is baka lalo pong magkagera dahil dito.
Yeah, I mean, I called it the Brave New World Disorder.
Grabe,
So
brave
they're
new
all
world, ano?
disorder talaga. No? Let's see. I mean, we all want to be somewhere in the middle, right? Except the middle is shifting. Interesting, there was a survey that came out in the Financial Times that look at the values alignment of, for instance, MAGA Republicans. And ang lumabas dyan is actually MAGA Republicans are much closer in terms of their value systems and ideology to Russians and Turks, right?
Yeah.
Particularly those ones who are supporting Erdogan and Putin, than even far-right parties, including supporters of Giorgia Meloni, among others in Europe. So sobrang lumalayo na yung Republican conservatism. So when you're talking about the middle has shifted in the US. So
Yeah.
maybe your middle applies to Europe well, but or Japan, I don't know. But pagdating sa US, the middle has shifted way to the
Yeah.
right now. So compared to their peers, now the MAGA Republicans are way to the right. They could easily pass off as far right by
Yeah.
European standards. So that's the kind of world we're living. That even the very nature and character of the Republican Party, the now the party of global power, essentially, is
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're all trying to be fair. Of course, a part of me saying, Sana, there's a method, the madness, maybe in the end, because Putin offered to also broker a deal with Iran. Sabi niya, okay, I'll help you, Trump. You talk to Iran, you cut a nuclear deal, then you help me on Ukraine. We'll basically, the Caesars will work it out together. I mean, of course, we're all for peace. We want no conflict in Middle East, Ukraine. But when you look at what are the things that are happening in terms of the broader alignments, yung unintended consequences. That's one thing people have to understand. There's the law of unintended consequence. It's not what Trump wants per se, but how others could react because of fear,
Yes.
of concerns. And as we see, fear is really, really the driving force. And the last thing I want to add on this, because I want to go to major domestic politics before going back to international politics. As of now, there's discussions about the Mar-a-Lago Accord, a potential grand bargain deal between US, China, Russia, kind of a Yalta 2.0. But I'll tell you, bro, since andyan ka, what the heck? The Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency world is a mess. Every
It
night
is.
you put 1,000 pesos, you lose 400 pesos the next
Yeah.
morning. I mean, it's bad, bro. It's bad.
Yeah. So just to calm your nerves a little bit, or maybe to make you know what's going on. As a matter of fact, the Trump tariffs and the trade wars he's conducting, yun na nagbabagsak ng presyo ngayon ng crypto at lahat ng mga risk-on assets, including stocks, other speculative assets, including certain commodities. Lahat yan, babagsak yan. And honestly, I really think a recession is looming. And because of that, I think we've already seen the high of $109,000 per Bitcoin and ngayon mukhang pababa na to. Hold on tight. And if I were you, pag bumaba yung presyo, buy more. Because it could go down to as low as mga $70,000. And that's a good time to buy already.
Wait, how? I thought you were gonna reassure me. Like,
Unfortunately not.
the bottom is falling, brother. Yeah,
Yeah, it
exactly.
is. Malala to. Ako na, ano na, may mga iba akong kaibigan na they literally took profit na and they said, dahil nga sobrang uncertain si Trump, ang gulo niya talaga eh. They call it the Trump chaos. It's so confusing. Kaya because of that, financial market does not like any kind of uncertainty. Kaya uncertainty will lead to market prices falling and it will lead to global recession. This is it. Baka mag-recession na tayo. This is going to be a really bad one too.
Yeah, I mean, just to tell you, even by Trump standards, this is crazy. I mean, Trump imposed tariffs on Mexico the other day because of the fentanyl issue. The next thing you know, suddenly he lifted the tariffs
Yep.
like within days. I mean, come on, that's crazy. With Canada the other month and now bring it back. So it's not Trump disruption. It's like even by Trump standards, this is too much of chaos, right? And then you
Oh,
have the Elon Musk factor. I don't know if you saw the news.
oh
Elon
yeah.
Musk had a shouting match apparently with Marco Rubio. The
Yep.
other day, it got crazy, it got ugly, and Marco Rubio said, who are you? Parang, it's none of your business what I deal because Elon
Yep.
Musk was saying you're not firing enough people. So like Marco Rubio joke, why not rehire the people you fired from my office and then fire them again so that your numbers look good sarcastically. And then Elon Musk got pissed off and say, last time I checked, I'm the one running multi-billion businesses that are successful and all. And then like Trump had to come in and say, okay, you know, Rubio's under pressure. Be nice to him. Elon is a great businessman. It's crazy, bro. I mean, I
Yeah.
honestly I don't think adults are running the show nowadays, and this is really troubling. So yeah, I think we have to be really ready for a lot of uncertainty. But speaking of uncertainty, as Filipinos, we're we're not strangers to that. So marami tayong
No.
pag-usapan today. Of course, first of all, just update lang. Ayon kay Attorney Claire Castro, na kasama natin the other day, and last week, kind of based on other conversation. Mukhang si Harry Roque is increasingly within our area of responsibility. Nasa Macau na daw siya, bro.
Wow.
If this were a typhoon, it's almost within our area. Ma-detect na siya ng pag-asa. I want to ask you this because you know the whole pogo, casino, gambling world very well. Of course, as an observer, brother. I don't. You tell me, what is the relevance of him potentially being in Macau per the undersecretary essentially for PCO of Malacanang right now, which was also confirmed by other contacts I
Yeah,
reached.
well, the biggest problem in terms of apprehending him is the fact that he is in Macau. It's a Chinese territory, and nakaalam naman natin that Harry Roque and Duterte family are very close to the Chinese authorities. At I wouldn't be surprised kung napoprotektahan siya ngayon doon at nabibigyan siya ng some sort of a unofficial asylum in Macau. Kaya matapang siya at malakas ang loob niya pumunta doon. Kasi alam niya, but with the contacts I have in China and with the Chinese government, baka nga hindi natin siya ma-extradite dito sa Pilipinas. Yun ang nakikita kong posibilidad kung bakit na napili niyang Macau, which is very close enough to the Philippines, but far enough from the hands of the authorities. So, in that sense, that becomes problematic because nakikita mo nga nung huling Senate hearing, where Riz Ontiveros followed up with the Bureau of Immigration, di ba? Tapos tinanong niyo sa Bureau of Immigration, eto na, ilang buwan na nakaraan. Kumusta? Alam na ba niyo kung paano nakalabas si Alice Go last year at nakatakas nung time na yon na hinuhuli natin siya? Wala pa ring sagot daw hanggang ngayon. Here is the excuse that the Bureau of Immigration gave. Sabi nila, ma'am, kasi ang trabaho ng immigration is just to deport the criminal. Okay? Pag-deport, the unwanted foreigner, yung unwanted dayuhan natin, de-deport lang. Pero kung saan mapunta, hindi na daw lang problema yon. Basta ang according to the law, apparently, ngayon ito yung gusto ko nga basahin na hindi ko pa nababasa eh. Totoo ba na basta makalabas sa Pilipinas, wala na silang pake? Which sounds weird because in that case, then in essence, yung mga criminal na gumagawa ng mga criminal activities dito sa Pilipinas can essentially escape with the help of the government.
Right.
That's what it sounds like. And that's where it becomes problematic. I would rather they face jail time here in the Philippines than having to deport them. Kasi yun nga yung nangyari. Yung tatlong big bosses sa mga pogos na ide-deport dahil papahuli sa China, apparently hindi nila alam kung nakarating nga ng China o hindi. Either there are two things lang dito sa ating Bureau of Immigrations and very typical of Philippine government. They're either really stupid, okay, incompetent, or they're complicit. Meaning, baka nabayaran sila. Yun lang yun eh. So, pumili ka na. Which one? Complicit ka ba? O kaya you're incompetent? Only one of the two applies.
Or maybe, bro, I'm gonna be like MAGA. There's a method. Baka naman this is an entrapment that Harry is being, like no, but him being in Macau means it's easier for him to coordinate with our good friends, right? Kasi yung mga Pogo people based here, I'm sure they have tentacles in Hong Kong, in Macau, Singapore, right? I mean, it's that kind of a,
Yeah,
let's call it the bamboo network, right?
sure. Um, yeah. Sorry, did I lose you or what
No,
happened?
no, I'm listening, bro.
Yeah, so absolutely, you're right. Sa Macau pa naman, marami ding mga criminal activities doon. A lot of the operators that were here are probably back in Macau. I wouldn't be surprised. Maraming connections si Harry Roque with regards to the pogos and a lot of the criminal activity. It's very easy for him to be able to hide. But the thing is, alam mo, pinakamahirap talaga sa ginagawa niya. You're still a fugitive. Oh my God, a fugitive without a country, without a home. You're literally para kang refugee sa ibang bansa na nagtatago na lang at whatever,
Yeah,
it's
Chris, bro,
difficult.
don't do that. Iyak ako, Pars. You're breaking my heart for Harry.
Naaawa ka
I'm
talaga
sure
para kay
Harry
Harry
is
Roque.
alone now. He's missing people that should miss. Um, I'm sure he's not in a five-star hotel. I'm sure,
Yeah.
like,
Wala yung EA niya, yeah.
parang pansin ko sa atin dalawa. Ganito lang, of all my collaborators, ikaw yung pinaka-sympathetic kay Harry Roque.
You call that sympathetic?
I mean,
Really?
like, ikaw lang parang maawa ka naman sa kanya. He's a fugitive. Lahat ng iba, walang yan. Ano nga,
Well, no, you know
yeah.
what? I don't even think it's sympathy. Honestly, the way I see it, Harry Roque, I really am enjoying seeing Harry Roque squirm and hide. Dahil naman sobrang lala nung ginawa niya talaga kay De Lima. Man, wala ka talagang puso, no? To even say the things he said to De Lima. Talagang grabe, anong klaseng tao ka talaga. It really shows how low that this person, it's even an insult to people when you call him a person, can go. Kaya nga, a lot of the
Now,
backlash he's
bumabawi ka
getting
na,
is
bro.
so bad.
Wait. Bro. Malapit na mo siyang tawagin it. Okay, wag na tayo pumunta dyan. Para hindi siya person. No, I mean, let's not go there. I want to say it's
Yeah.
month, pero wala namang kinalaman sa kanya. But, no, going back to this, bro. The thing kasi is, I was asking General Torre last week about this. Sabi ko, paano yan? Kasi yung dream situation niya, di ba, is this Congress will run out, maging mutan academic yung show cause order, and then he's gonna come back and he's gonna become the chief counsel defender of Sara Duterte in the impeachment trial. Parang yun yung dream scenario siguro niya, no? Sabi ni Torre, hindi, kailangan lang namin warrant of arrest. Kung may kaso talaga sa kanya, marami siyang sabit, arestuin namin yan, regardless whether it's 20th Congress or 200th Congress. Hindi ubra yung mga ganyan sa kanya. So, I still want to see more clarity on that. Kasi to be honest, I'm talking to different people from senior positions. Mukhang I think it's still a political decision that has to be made. Kasi given, I mean, for everything we can say about Harry Roque, mukhang he's important enough, no, that he could be essentially a gateway to many things in terms of, I mean, in terms of information on even
Mhm.
bigger fishes, right? And given
Yeah.
proximity to the Dutertes, I don't know, maybe we are still waiting for some political decision to be made. Kaya wala pa rin ako nakuhang matinong sagot sa totoo lang sa mga top officials. Basta ang position lang nila, if talagang may basis talaga, we're gonna take care of him. Kasi ako, bro, kung ikaw ay naawa kay Haroke, ako naawa kay Panelo. Because Panelo feels finally he's having his moment. 'Di ba? For a long
Kanino?
time, si Panelo. Si Salvador Panelo.
Oh, what about him?
You don't know, like,
Yeah, what about him?
di ba may rivalry sila? Di ba spokesman sila pareho ni Digong? Tapos parang
Right.
na-outshine ng husto I mean, you never would have thought Panelo can get outshined given like the stuff he wears and all. Pero
Yeah.
lalim ang hugot ni Panelo na he was very outshined. So, happy-happy si Panelo ngayon na wala si Harry Roque kasi siya yung parang surrogate ni Digong, going on different channels, ganun. Pero pag bumalik si Harry Roque, kakainin niya yung buong oxygen ng room. Buti nga oxygen.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
I feel for Panelo. I really feel for Panelo.
pero alam mo, let me just say, with regards to Panelo, I was nagulat ako kung gaano siya ka slippery Especially during yung mga hearings, yung humarap siya kasama ni Digong.
Yeah.
And magaling siya, very slippery compared to Harry Roque. Kasi yung pagharap pa lang niya doon and how he made those disclaimers prior to any hearing started saying, I don't know anything about EJ case. I just represented the administration as a spokesman, but personal knowledge, wala po ako niya. Wow, ang galing. Kaya si Panelo, lusot siya dito eh. Unlike Harry Roque. Harry Roque kasi talagang he got his hands dirty. Literally dirty. It all started nung nagbigay siya ng campaign donations of 32 million pesos para kay VP Sara
Yun yung
Duterte.
declared. Yun yung declared. I mean, we
Yeah,
never know, right?
exactly. Yun yung declared. Now, I want you to imagine a Harry Roque able to give 32 million pesos, bigger than Gatchalian. Okay? And Harry Roque doesn't have a business like the Gatchalians do, and yet he's able to give 32 million. For you to give 32 million, just to put it in context, as a campaign donation, you have to be worth a minimum, okay, a minimum of a
1,000 times
billion.
more. 110 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm being nice when I say a billion. Kasi kung 1 billion, 100 million pesos is a lot of money for a billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay? 100 million is 10%. Hindi ka magbibigay ng ganyan for campaign funds. So that's what I'm saying. So for him to give that money, it makes you think, pera ba niya talaga yon? O kaya, hindi niya pera, pinapalabas silang campaign funds galing sa ibang bagay. Saan kaya galing? Tulad ng mga, ano kayang bagay pwede? Mga something confidential siguro, baka pwede. Yon ang nakikita kong problema. And Harry Roque is in the middle of all of this. Pogos, confi funds, and all this money laundering, and
De La
boom.
Serna,
Kaya
De La
tago ka na.
Serna, De La Serna.
Oh yeah,
May
yung
update
kanyang,
pa
ano,
tayo
yung
kay
kanyang boylet. I mean EA. Oh, di ba?
Kasi, I'm sorry, but the other day, someone showed me a video of Junisha, right? Sabi ko, may nagsabi niya, alam mo si Junisha, matanda na yung boyfriend niya, hindi na yung bata dati. Sabi ko, sino? Ganyan. Tapos pagtingin ko, hindi, yun na yun, tumanda na siya.
Tumanda na.
Tumanda na rin. He gave up on himself. Parang,
Wala na, oo.
minsan, parang you have to make a choice. Am I gonna be in this relationship or am I gonna give up on myself? Like, sabi ko, yun din yung si Michael yata na DI dati, di ba? I don't know if you people remember, there was this press conference 10 years ago, biglang nag-announce si Junisha na magkaka-baby kami ni Michael. And then yung mukha niya, bro, yung like the blood left his face. He was like completely, as in like, yung lips niya blue na. And then nung nakita ko, that's the same guy. So, yun rin. I think baka, I don't know about De La Serna now, but there were concerns he might go down the same. But anyway, I don't want to go down that line of argument. Na-threaten nga ako na libel daw ako ni Rowena Guanzon kasi di ba? May post ako na
that,
kasama
that,
sila ni Jimmy Bondok. Tapos sabi ko, ano daw, Team Kiboloy? Of course, in a cheeky way. Grabe,
yeah.
nabash ng big time. Sabi ko, ano ko,
Nabash siya o nabash ka?
nabash siya ng big time, bro. Like
Yeah.
10,000 emojis. I mean, like whatever. So siya nagalit siya, nainis siya. Parang, ako naman, parang why would you take a picture with someone who's so openly defending Kiboloy and all of that, and then you were saying
Yeah.
I'm pink or whatever. So it was my way of saying, consistency naman dyan. But so anyways, whatever. I don't want to get back to this. Ikaw, bro, oh wow, this is crazy. Now let's talk about since by the way, happy Women's Month. Let's talk about Sara Duterte, our great Vice President. Isa pa to. Ang bait-bait niya kanina, 'di ba? Magandang araw po sa itong buwan na ito na mga what do you have to say about this other
Yeah.
side of Sara Duterte?
Alam mo, Sara Duterte comes across to me na isang parang bipolar na tao eh. Nakakainsulto to sa mga bipolar and I apologize for people with bipolar disorders. Pero Sara Duterte is exhibiting symptoms of a politically bipolar person. Yung isang...
Psychoanalyst ka na para ngayon, bro.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you look at psycho people like that, you do have to analyze psychos. So, kaya talagang kung psychoanalysis yan, definitely I agree. I am a psychoanalyst. At saka, yan ang problema na nakikita ko talaga with Sara Duterte na hindi ko maintindihan kung ano ang appeal niya sa mga Dutertards sa sumusuporta sa kanya. Even now, I can really see that, alam mo yung nagdo-double down na lang yung mga sumusuporta kay Sara Duterte in all of this right now, she's trying to come across like being presidentiable. This is her show to give you a glimpse of how I'll be like as a president. She's feeling presidentiable na. Inuunahan na niya yung ating presidente sa mga ganitong mga greetings kasi pinaparamdam niya na, oh, ayun, parang ano, it is a mind conditioning that she's already doing at this point. And even the mga surveys that they're all bringing out there already, it's all part of the mind conditioning. Now, kung mahina ang iyong pag-iisip tulad ng ibang mga kaibigan nating sumusuporta sa mga Dutertes, mabubudol ka talaga mga ganyan. Pero, pag ikaw ay isa sa mga sumuporta dati kay Duterte at nag-iisip ka pa, seriously, pag-isipan mo na ano ba ang loyalty mo sa isang tao at nakalimutan mo na ang loyalty mo una ay para sa ating bansa. Ginagawa ni Sara Duterte is all window dressing at this point, making up for her unhinged moments. At nakikita mo dito, nagbe-behave siya para makalimutan sana natin yung kanyang nagawa at nasabi. At although hindi yun makakalimutan, what does make me wonder though, Richard, is bakit hanggang ngayon wala pang kaso doon sa kanyang pagbanta? O meron, hindi, meron na, di ba? Meron na bang
Meron,
kaso yun?
meron sa NBI. Meron sa NBI.
Meron na. Ano nangyari? Bakit wala pang arrest warrant yan? Parang ang tagal. Ano yung inaantay nila?
It's the
Pasko?
Philippines, di ba? We'll talk about the impeachment very shortly, but I want to go back to this. Speaking of psychoanalysis, may nag-correct sa'yo, bro. Sabi na hindi yan, split personality daw ang tawag dyan. Wala ko sinasabi, ha? May live psychoanalysis feed tayo in our among our followers. So thank you very much for your additional Jungian analysis of what's happening. Oh, by the way, guys, hindi ito sexist, ha? We already have a discussion about this. I think we can legitimately discuss, diba, and criticize regardless of gender, diba? Napaka-diverse yung gender. Trump, no, like, and Sara, like, we're talking about many different people of different gender and background. So please lang, let's not use gender card here, and happy Women's Day. Now, I want to talk about this, bro, kasi kanina you keep on saying, hindi ko maintindihan bakit malakas pa rin ang mga Duterte. Speaking of that, actually, as I said, I'm for transparency purposes, I do consultancy, but not, I mean, like, just an expert consultant with this analytics, AI analytics in Washington DC called Third Eye, no? So they do live analytics analysis of online sentiments. As in lahat ng online sentiments, like every platform you can imagine. And actually, the news is not very good for the administration, and the news is actually good for Duterte. So for instance, ang laki ng baksak ng yung negative sentiments. Again, sentiment analysis lang to.
Yep.
Sentiments kay PBBM. He had a 25%, for instance, drop dun sa kanyang positive sentiments. Si Sara Duterte, much lower. Dun sa impeachment issue, again, this is live, so snapshot lang to. This is not, dun naman sa issue ng impeachment, tumataas, at least as of live sentiments online, yung anti-impeachment people, nagiging majority. And this is snapshot. Again, all of this is snapshot. So, ang basa ko kasi dito, bro, is ang galing ang galing mag-weaponize ng mga pro-Duterte, whether ito yung totoo or trolls or whatever, any anomaly and make it look as if lahat kasalanan ng alyansa. I mean, we had no less than our good friend si Malu saying, 2 taon na, bakit sinisisi pa rin si Digong when in fact they were always blaming Aquino. Now, why is that relevant? Because, for instance, yung Isabela Bridge na bumaksak, di ba? Pinagpiesta ng mga DDS yan,
Yep.
pinagtawanan yan. And of course, the fact that I think it's in our region, in the Ilocos region and all, parang there was ganito. But actually, much of that project was implemented during Digong's time. I mean, we can talk about A to Z's of Kapalpakan na ngayon lang natin nakikita yung resulta. But because it's happening under the nose of this administration and during elections, some would say suspiciously, para may pagkalaglag bala yung timing, right? Ang galing mag-weaponize. Kaya yung online sentiment, it's not working very well for the administration, to be honest. And it's working much better, at least for the DDS, and to a certain degree, yung independent, kunyari, na actually medyo sympathetic sa DDS. What is your read of this?
Yeah. So, alam mo, there are two things that are happening here. No? Number one, yung troll army. I think the Duterte troll army is very well organized and very well funded. Where does the money come from? I think we all know naman, di ba? Parang something about confidential something, yun na nakikita ko dito, number one, okay? So, the way they organize and then the way they spin all the different stories, and try to throw that narrative out there is a real problem because maraming tao nga hindi masyado matalas ang pag-iisip, unfortunately. And dahil doon, mabilis sila maniwala sa mga naririnig nila, number one. The second part is this. I think the problem with the Marcos administration right now is may mga palpak na nagagawa sila that are now being highlighted. And they really should utilize their own troll army to be able to switch that narrative. Unfortunately, I don't know if they have a troll army. That's why I posted it on X the other day. I said, sino ba mga trolls ng ni BBM? Because pag tinitingnan ko sa X, wala akong nakikitang troll. Yun talagang troll. The way I see with Duterte's troll army, I could even name you the Duterte trolls and they all have AI photos na mga gwaping yung mga itsura at yung mga pangalan nila, parang mga bayani yung mga pangalan na ginagamit nila. Pero pag din mo kay BBM, wala siyang mga ganong trolls. Wala siyang mga mouthpiece na tulad din ng Malutikia. At saka wala siyang TV network na tulad ng SMNI to spread the disinformation. So that's the main difference. And that's hurting BBM in terms of what he's doing or not doing. And so in other words, those two points right there, here is where he has to be careful. He really has to improve on the function and the performance of all the departments. Kailangan niya magawa yon para ipakita na mas magaling siya kaysa sa previous administration. Yan ang isang unang panlaban niya. Pangalawa, kailangan niya mag-utilize ng troll army similar to what Duterte is doing, but in this case, as long as he's really spreading the correct information, I don't have a serious problem with that. Bakit? Kasi lalahanin mo, before social media, Richard, the press was used. There's a lot of envelope, what do you call it? Envelope journalism that would
Journalism,
happen
yeah.
where opinion
Yeah.
writers would write. Yeah, those are the first type of trolls that we had. But this was during the time of, ano yun,
Erap.
gatekeeping na journalism. But now with social media, ito na yung bagong parang envelopmental journalism. I don't see anything wrong with that as long as the information you're sharing is true and you're just interpreting it a certain way. What I don't like with mind you, what some of the trolls are doing naman is really just interpreting some of the data they see. For example, the PhilHealth issue. Hindi mo mabintang din ang mga trolls na wine-weaponize sila yung issue na to because it's a legitimate issue. And I agree with the issue. That's
That's why,
why,
diba, there's a grain of truth. That's the thing, eh. That's why powerful itong trolling na yan, because there's a grain of truth. It's the way they twist it, right?
yes,
Make it look as if everything is the fault of the current administration and the timing is really bad and it looks like ang basa ko dito, and this is what we see in the analytics and all of that. Obviously, this captures the sentiments and their flow and ins and outs throughout time. Ang basa ko rin dito kasi ang disadvantage ng BBM administration is that they were in unity with Duterte's for 2 years. Duterte had 7 years, meaning 1 year into elections and 6 years in presidency. So basically may isang dekada na lead time ang yung machinery ng information or disinformation ng kabila, 'di ba? While
yep.
for the Marcos administration, parang their idea is like, should we even play them on their own field? I think they're, parang
Yun.
too late. Is it like even doable? And speaking of the trolls, diba, I responded to you. I said, actually, there were many pro BBM trolls, but a lot of them just switched out na daw. I mean, Mark Gamboa, our good friend, a blogger, noticed that. And a lot of them realized, wait lang, I was doing fantastic when Duterte and Marcos were together. So I had double following. And then now, I don't want to be caught in between. So ang gagawin ko na lang, ano lang ako, I will just do punch-up show, or I'll just, like for instance, Sankay Janjan, who was really a big vlogger. I think he just switched off from politics. I don't know about Coach Jarrett and all of those other people, but there are a couple of very big pro-BBM Marcos from back in the day, bro, na millions followers, and they kind of just switched off. So that's why dominant pa rin yung field. And then you have very pro-BBM who completely turned. Let's just call them Team Vic Rodriguez, right? Like for instance, si Maharlika, yung ating beshi sa California, right? Na parating ang Tesla siya. Sarap buhay, di ba? Yung mga ganon. So actually, I agree with you na medyo asymmetrical yung fight, eh. And then at the same time, we'll talk about the opposition soon because there's also this new survey, Third Eye, saying that actually online, the opposition is doing very well. We'll discuss the Iloilo situation soon. So maingay yung pink or yellow, maingay yung DDS. Ang pinaka-ironically, mahina online is the admin who should have all the resources and advantages. Do you see the weird situation here? Yeah.
But alam mo, I also believe na parang I don't know if it's all just a PR thing, but I think they're also following their cues from BBM, who's very, 'di ba, hindi siya pumapatol sa mga iba't ibang mga pinag-uusapan, which I think is what also could be hurting him because hindi nga siya pumapatol. That's why I like the addition of Attorney Claire Castro. Kasi
I
ngayon
was
meron
just about
siyang
to ask you. I was exactly at
yeah.
the point.
So, okay. Ito yung take ko with, I haven't even done a video about Attorney Claire Castro, and I'm going to do my video about it, talking about her. Because, alam mo to si Attorney Claire, no? Ang magaling sa kanya kasi nga, vlogger siya at the very start. So, tulad natin, mga vloggers. So, sanay siya makipagbardagulan ng ganito. And, yun ang una, number one. Number two, ano siya, the legal background does help her. So, it gives her that a little bit of that superiority pagkalaban yung mga trolls. At nakikita ko paano siya makipagbardagulan. Oh my God, Lord. Talagang ikaw yung matatameme at saka ang magagawa nila ng mga typical DDS trolls is magmumura na lang, mag-insulto kasi wala na silang masabi. Ang hirap bumana
Ito naman
talaga
sabi
kung
ko, hindi ko pa nilabas. I only have a love na love ko yan si Attorney Claire. Parang si Ronald Llamas lang kasama ko yung in the sense of yung chemistry, no? And it's like you, parang ayaw, yung inayaw lang niya mag-live the other day. Parang, I don't know, we should be used to it na. Yung ibabash na tayo ng lifetime. So, my only request to Attorney Claire next time is, ano na, live na tayo. Like, yung ginagawa natin, let the bashers come in. But of course, I understand she has been really lahat ng laser nakatutok sa kanya
yeah.
now because of their I mean, I asked her, what is your position again? Press officer? Is that a spokesman? Sabi niya, hindi pa rin naman. BBM is still his own spokesman. Pero parang, sabi ko, so are you the Harry Roque of BBM? Tawa na lang. Because yun ang kailangan ni BBM, di ba? A Harry Roque. A kind of a,
Yeah.
not only a bongo operator, but also a Harry Roque, right?
Pero my God naman, to compare her to Harry Roque, ang layo.
No,
No?
I
Okay,
mean in
sobrang
terms of
layo
function.
talaga.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I mean in terms of function, not in terms of
Yeah,
character and morality. Ang
yeah,
galing kasi
even
mag-spin si
ability,
Harry Roque.
ability-wise. Uh,
No, Harry Roque was very good spin doctor. I'll give it to him. I debated with him on TV among others when he was Duterte's and he's very aggressive. I remember we had one interview Inside Story with Al Jazeera. I use the term Philippines is still a fledgling democracy, walang rule of law. And then said, excuse me, what fledgling? We are an established democracy since 1986. Tapos ako parang, to be sure, excuse me, do not cut me, do not be rude. Gumanong siya sa akin. Parang, what? Kung ganun. And then after yung tapos ng show, yung British accented anchor said, thank you very much, Mr. Hedarian, for being so professional. Just, tapos dalawa sila nag-aaway, si Ara, yung journalism prof ng UP, yung isang so silang dalawa na lang nag-aaway, hindi na ako nakialam. So for me, it's very effective for Digong noon. He was very aggressive. Even sa international media, he'll come like that, diba? So,
right.
that's what they need. Kaya nga sabi ko kay Claire Castro, you have to be bardaguls na. So we're hoping to have regular na kami ni Attorney Castro and hopefully we can have you and Ronald and on sharing us. But what else do you think the administration should do before we talk about the opposition? Because we have another survey here that looks at actually the Pink are not doing too bad. In fact, they're doing very well online, especially
Yeah.
in light of the latest Iloilo event. But what else is your advice, bro, from your understanding?
So right now, so that's one of the best moves that BBM did is to hire Attorney Claire Castro. And on top of that, I think you should have more public pronouncements. At sinabi nga niya at one point, di ba gagawa nga siya ng parang regular press con at inaantay ko yung susunod yung press con. The last one he did was, I think over a month ago, where he answered a lot of different questions and that was very effective. He has to do that every month. Panindigan niya yon at
Every
gawin niya.
month lang,
Makakatulong
bro.
sa kanya.
Parang feeling
Ha?
ko once a week at least, yung fireside chat style. Yun ang proposal ko ng matagal. I mean, if
Sure.
it's
Hey,
Duterte, any president should do that. Kasi Duterte was the master showman. I
yeah,
mean,
mahirap.
ang galing ni Duterte sa ganun eh.
Pero ang mahirap lang kasi kung once a week is yung maraming trabaho talaga ang presidente na kailangan asikasuhin. Nakakalimit yan sa kanilang actual trabaho. Yun ang nakikita kong problema kapag once a week. But kung ang habol mo lang naman is making sure your ratings are up, yeah, once a week would work. And if you can squeeze the time, why not?
Yeah, bro.
But
I mean,
for
come on,
me,
bro. We're in the middle of elections. The Sara impeachment issue is a matter of existential threat. I mean, to be honest, maybe he can rest later on next year. But this year, bro, is war year. Come on. I mean, we know this.
right.
I
Oh
know
yeah,
of course, he's the
okay.
president. He has 10 million problems. But what I'm saying is information warfare is happening as we speak. Bugbog saradong admin. Maybe the president has to take the lead and come out. And there are many like-minded people who may not be pro-admin, but share the administration's antipathy towards Duterte, who are waiting for the guy on top to show, more consistency and spontaneity, if I can put
Okay.
it that way, di ba? And practice lang yun. I don't know. When was the first time you did live? I mean, I was a bit self-conscious the first time I did live 4 years ago. And then over
Yep.
time, kumapal lang mukha ko. And then like, natural na. Parang kung hindi live, sayang oras ko. Parang, no, let's make it live. Yung mga ganun, budutsan natin, di ba? So for me, practice din yun eh.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, tama ka dun, ano, and I actually will concede to that point, ano, that that is an important case that he needs to do more live talaga, and once a week magkaroon siya ng press con niya, and it gives him an opportunity to be closer to the people, to be seen by the people. Now, by the way, ito lang masabi ko, on the ground, kasi di ba I've been going around talking to people, all right? Alam mo Marcos, BBM has a lot of support on the ground. And when I even spoke to the barangay captains, a lot of them disagree with Duterte's policies. Kaya lang, they didn't have a choice. He was president that time. I talked to them mismo. Nagulat ako sa mga narinig ko. People just were so afraid to contradict Duterte kasi baka patayin sila. It was that bad. Now, when I spoke to all these people and even the people on the ground, a lot of people actually love BBM to a fault. Okay? Mind you, to a fault. That why I had to correct them on that. Nagugulat ako sa mga iba't ibang kwento ng mga narinig ko while I was speaking to all these people. But in that sense, tama ka, that's why it's important that he reinforces the vote that he got, that the people that voted for him, paalala niya sa kanila kung ba't niyo ako binoto, at papakita ko sa inyo yung aking tapang ngayon at ang aking lakas. On top of that, he needs to act. So on top of doing press cons, he needs to act. What do I mean by act? Ibig sabihin, ay kailangan siya gumawa ng mga tamang hakbang para mapaipakita na meron talagang tamang hustisya dito at pinaglalaban niya ang hustisya ng lahat ng mga mamamayan by making sure na may kaso, na matuloy ang mga kaso laban kay Sara at sa tatay niya.
Has
Yung
to be
sedition case
decided.
sa tatay niya, bakit hindi pa nagagawa yon? The guy literally is creating, wanting a revolutionary
Seditious.
government, trying to
Yeah, it's
overthrow the
seditious.
country.
Yeah, it's seditious. I mean, I got essentially as I know Attorney Claire has to be careful because she's no longer a vlogger like us. But I said, are they a destabilizer? I know the legal implications of that are still hazy, but I said in the sense that they were tagging the rest of us back in the day. Anyone who criticized Digong, oh, you're destabilizers. If we expose the extrajudicial killings, sure. But for me, they're actually the real destabilizers right now. They're openly talking about, oh, maybe the military wants to step in. The country's fractured. I
Yeah.
mean, they're verbatim what Duterte has been saying. So for me, sedition should. Ang problema lang daw kasi sa sedition, right, is that, in the case of like Panelo and some of these Duterte people, they're so clownish that you cannot take them
Yes.
seriously now. Therefore, because they're not credible, they can always say they were just joking, or that no one
Joking.
takes them. You know what I'm saying? There's that kind of a weird postmodern deniability, weird gray area thing. Kaya you're absolutely right. There has to be some legal hammer that eventually has to come down on these people. Otherwise, they're gonna mumbo jumbo with our system indefinitely. They're just gonna say, "Oh, I'm just joking. Oh, I'm just joking," and the next thing you know, there's a coup d'état, right? Or a
Yep.
coup
Yep.
failed attempt, right? I mean, I was worried when our three-time coup. I mean, I think he's the ultimate alumnus of like Trillanes is the only one I know, Senator. Tatlong kudeta ang ginawa niya. He
Yeah.
said, I'm worried there could be someone like me inside nowadays waiting
Yeah.
to be
And
activated. So, yeah.
no, alam mo and also by the way that isa pa pala kailangan ni BBM gawin is magkaroon siya dapat ng loyalty check with the military. That's important. And that's something that Duterte was doing well, is making sure military and police personnel were rewarded for their loyalty, for killing. And that's what happened to a certain batch. Was it the batch 96 and 97? Pero ang problema noon is when they actually killed a military officer, doon na nagkagulo-gulo lahat at doon na na-realize sila na mali na talaga to. Pero yan ang kailangan gawin ni BBM, ay kailangan maging malapit siya sa militar at paalala niya sa kanila na I'm the president at babantayan ko kayo at tulungan niyo ako, tutulungan ko rin kayo. And that's how it really works, you know. And although I do believe that marami naman sa ating military are following the constitution and following their mandate to be able to protect the country against any invaders, foreign or local, 'di ba? Any threats like that.
Absolutely.
But kailangan talaga ni Marcos magpaulit-ulit magpakita ng
Sigurista.
strength na ganyan.
Sigurista. Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I got some spirited reaction from some military people when I gave a speech about this Manila Peninsula a month ago in a high-level meeting. And diba, Manila Peninsula is where there was a coup d'etat by
Yep.
Trillanes and all. So I said, in memoriam to that, like, I want to remind people that there are attempts at sedition, right? And there were military folks there who said, no way, blah, blah, blah. But ang point ko is, of course, all due respect, I know the military very well. I deal with the military throughout the years because of the West Philippine Sea issue. But ang point ko is, I mean, look at South Korea, very well-developed, established democracy, went almost berserk. So it could happen in any country. You can never say 100%. So you're absolutely right. You just have to constantly make sure everything is on an even keel, just to be segurista, because this is a crazy situation of an ex-president agitating for destabilization over and over and over again. Your
Yeah.
vice president threatening to assassinate. So these are okay, ganito. Siguro minsan we have to also understand BBM is also in an unprecedented situation. I don't think any Filipino president, if not any president, has faced a crazy situation whereby his immediate predecessor and his constitutional successor, if ever something happens, are both attacking him and threatening him every other month. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I'm
So
not saying I'm sympathetic per se, pero parang, in fairness to the guy, right? Grabe, the kind of threat he's facing.
okay, so let me ask you a question. Now, this is just hypothetical. You think Lenny would have been able to handle this, and how would she have handled this if
Oh
it
no,
was
I
her?
answered this long time ago. I said dalawa yung I don't want to use the word blessing in disguise, but I would say the weakness of the opposition accelerated the disintegration of unity because right, once they realized there's no opposition left, they went at each other, right? So it was a Zoom
Right.
defense. That's one thing. B, if Lenny were there, forget about Duterte's. I think the Congress would have also gone against her. Because Lenny would push for good reforms and good governance and ayaw niya ng katrapuhan and corruption. So remember what Congress did during Arroyo's time. Oh, and by the way,
Yep.
there could be also misogyny involved, right? Remember during Arroyo's time, the Congress would fight back against Arroyo. And Arroyo obviously is on the other side of the equation, very unpopular president. My fear was if Lenny had won and if Lenny was seen as not decisive and strong enough, oh yeah, hindi lang Duterte, Marcos, Trapos, everyone will go after that. So it could have been a very unstable government. For all we know, maybe BBM is the perfect transition figure.
Yeah.
Meaning, take care of the Duterte chaos, and then hopefully by 2028 we can have a sane, normal-ish politics. Yeah, I've made that argument in writing and on the record. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe sometimes we also have to remind ourselves, brother. I mean, you and I are not the commander in chief, and people could get killed if some big decisions are made. I mean, even yung arresting the Dutertes, you think, bro, that will happen safely? Wala, yung nangyari kay Kiboloy na siege, you'll see 10 versions of that, right?
Yeah.
And as we speak, South Korea is still struggling to deal with the situation of their ex-president.
Yep.
Si Kim Jong-un ang tawag ko sa kanya, Kim Jong-un. Now, I want to go to the last part. So we had also a survey dito sa Third Eye saying that actually, when it comes to online sentiment, actually the opposition is not doing very bad. In fact, they're doing very well. There was a big event, of course, the Kiko-Bam campaign sa Iloilo, major endorsement. Ito na, nag-unity na. Nag-unity na. Riza, Lenny, Frank Drilon, former Senate President, everyone was there. Of course, Iloilo is the home base of former Senate President Frank Drilon, former Justice Secretary Frank Drilon. And the numbers look very, very well for the opposition online. A lot of noise, a lot of good positive sentiment. What is your sense about the opposition when it comes to Senate race? Do you think the best scenario here is that the administration will go all in to make sure walang manalo sa mga pro-China or pro-Duterte candidates, and then at the same time, that opens a space or two for the BAMs and the Kikos of this world?
Yeah, so there are two angles here that are working in favor of Bam and Kiko. Especially Bam, because I think Bam is ranking higher than Kiko Pangilinan when it comes to the surveys, di ba? So either one of the two, ito yung advantage ngayon. Number one, you have the Pink movement and the Dilawan movement that's actually pushing them to win. That's a big force right there. Assume that 16 million is going to all vote for them. Okay, so that's one. Second one, the BBM administrative slate, if they look at the numbers at nakikita nila na, oh, yung may iba tayong mga kandidate dito, mukhang hindi naman mananalo, malayo sobra, then why not itulak na natin si Bam at Kiko para matanggal yung si, for example, kalaban nila in the last three slots available is si Bato de la Rosa. Pam, tanggal si Bato de la Rosa. So
Jaime,
they could play this game.
Jaime.
Yeah. Oh, I mean Marcos, I don't think he's gonna win. Pero but if you look at Bato kasi Bato could win eh. So that's the point I'm trying to make is that he could win. So by pushing Bam up, you could actually displace Bato de la Rosa in that sense. And because they know that there's a pink movement behind Bam Aquino, baka pwede lang gawin yun. And remember, Bam is not really that the BBM and Bam, I mean, the families are not naman mortal enemies right now. They actually talk, and even
Mm.
the
Oh yeah,
the
that event in Sorsogon, di ba, na nag-shake hands
yeah,
si Lenny and BBM, Bam was there, kind of facilitated it
yeah.
from my understanding.
So I don't see why that's an impossible scenario, and I do believe that there is a possibility that it's something that is brewing, hindi harap-harapan of course, pero something underneath. O plan B tayo dito. Ano pwede natin gawin? Kung ito nakita natin itong kandidato natin mukhang malabo to kasi literally ang layo niya, itulak na natin yung suporta natin dito sa isa para at least yon tanggal yung kalaban. Kasi that's the whole point. At least if I was a strategist, that's how I would do it. Titignan ko talaga kung sino yan na lang ipapasok natin. But of course, I won't make that public because of course, I'd prefer my
Of course,
slate
of course,
completely
of
is
course.
gonna win. Yep.
Well, I mean, speaking of his slate, kanina, President Marcos Jr. said he may be in the wrong industry after all because nagpalakpakan lahat when Bong Budots Revilla who came in and like palakpakan lahat ng tao. I think we have to all learn the Budots moves talaga. It sells big time when it comes to campaigning all around the country. But bro, I know I cut out a little bit there, but I want to go to the last part of our conversation today, and I think this is a very serious conversation and very forward-looking. So basically, there are two dimensions to this. One is, pag tinignan mo yung Pilipinas, I think younger Gen X like you and older millennials like me are extremely underrepresented when it comes to politics. I mean, for heaven's sakes, Macron became the president at my age, 37, 38. He became the president of France, right? Back in
Mhm.
2017. In Thailand, Pita, at the age of 41, 42, he was the prime minister designate until, the king, the mad king, and the military came in and, finished the party. So we were looking around. I was talking to friends and I'm like, bakit wala tayong anything like that? Like, millennials or younger Gen X like you, shaping politics from the very middle and kind of like basically middle finger to everyone and say we want to do it our own way. On March in the case of France, the move forward in future forward in the case of Thailand. I was thinking maybe at some point we have to look at that. And then suddenly something also dawned upon me, like, wait lang, what about the Gen Z? Because they will increasingly become the biggest voting
Yep.
bloc. Not yet daw. I was told that still millennials will be the biggest voting bloc and our generations are still the most maingay online. So a lot of this analytics is probably capturing Gen X and millennials. But down the road, we have to reach out to the Gen Z. And this is important because you and I always have this kuya talk advice to the younger men. What is your read of the Gen Z in terms of getting them interested in politics?
Yeah.
Because my sense of Gen Z is they're very skeptical of established institutions. They are not invested in democracy the way even us millennials were. I'll tell you what, in 2016, we were the reason why Lenny won, my
Mm.
generation, because the voting share of Lenny was so high among millennials, it canceled out the boomers who went for BBM. And the
Right.
hope is the millennials will kind of hold the line for now. But Gen Zs are it's I mean it's like an open big question. We still don't have a legit exit poll from 2022. The last survey I saw was by Pulse Asia in March 2022 that said 75% of Gen Zs were pro unity, meaning natuwa
Mm.
sila sa TikTok and pa-cute and all of that. So that makes me think if they're very skeptical of established institutions, if they go on TikTok. Apparently, I was told Gen Zs go to TikTok to Google. Like like we go on Google. Like you go on Google and try to find. They go straight to TikTok and Google, not Google. Like they TikTok what are the best restaurants or what is the best way to get there. You know what I'm saying? That like basically their neural pathways are different from us.
Yes.
And I
So
was wondering, like, how do we win over the Gen Zs for a politics that is forward-looking and hopeful? Kasi medyo cynical lahat ng tao ngayon, and I understand them because they were generation pandemic, generation climate change. My goodness, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is coming and it's going to disrupt jobs. So how are we going to win over the Gen Zs? I know these are very big questions, but I want to tell you, this is what is ticking me right now. These big questions. For heaven's sakes, we have to take over. We have to shape this more directly soon. But we have to have the Gen Z on our side eventually.
yeah. Richard, alam mo right now, with regards to the Gen Zs, ganito lang yun eh. We are doing the work to be able to lay the groundwork for a lot of the Gen Zs. At ang maganda dito, if you look at TikTok, there are some really good Gen Zs out there. Women that are speaking out already, that are political vloggers. I have seen and met a couple of them already, and I'm very impressed. I hope that there are going to be more women and men na sa edad na yon that are going to be learning to speak out more. And not just speak out, inspire people to run for Congress, inspire people to run for councilors, start with Kagawad, and be able to move up and learn. That is actually why I'm running for councilor. Because what I'm hoping to do by doing this is show people na hindi ganun kahirap mahirap siya, pero that it's accessible and anyone can do it and it's possible. And hopefully, by this action that I do as an example, ay may mga nanonood ng mga Gen Zs dyan na maisip nila na, pwede pala eh. Kahit sino pala kaya itong gawin. Why not I'll do it na? And if we can do that, one person, just one, every time that we speak out, meron tayong isang napaisip na baka nga pwede akong maging public servant, then we've done our job. That's why I like going to mga university talks. I was in a university talk 2 weeks ago in LaSalle because for me, every time you interact with a student, it sparks that thought in their mind. Plant that seed. Now, one day, they will be the leaders of the world, the leaders of our country. At yun ang pwede nating asahan na mangyari. And I think it will happen. I am not as cynical about it as you are. From what you're seeing, I think that may pag-asa pa naman. I mean, you see a Vico Soto, for example. That's a good example for a lot of the young people right now that, uy, this guy's an outsider if you think about it, and yet he's able to do that. And now, he paved the way for a lot of people that are younger than him to say na kung kaya niya, kaya ko rin. And that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm not saying that. I was just looking at the actual numbers. Like, we don't even have a single millennial senator. The only
Right.
one running that has a chance is a Villar.
Oh,
That tells you how bad the situation is, right? You go to
right.
other major democracies similar to ours, millennials are highly represented in cabinet
Right.
positions.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. The numbers of representation. This is just facts. This is just empirics.
Yeah. Okay. So let me counter that with this. So kasi ang problem natin with the type of democracy that we have with the senators, it is a popularity contest. So you have to build up your popularity first before you get to a Senate level, which is a problem in itself right there. Ngayon, if you look at naman our Congress and the composition of our Congress, may mga ano ba, ilang taon yung mga ibang kongresista natin dyan, 20 plus, late 20s, early 30s, which is great. I actually like the young guns and I like a lot of these young kids right now that are in Congress. So, kung yun ang titignan mo in Congress naman, I think that we have the right representation. You're looking at Senate lang where you have only 24 senators. That's kind of hard when you have 24 seats and yet people still vote for the popular
Yeah, but
ones
how
na
many
matagal
of
na
these
nilang
congressmen,
nakita.
bro? But how many of these congressmen are not from political dynasties too? Now, who happen to be millennial? Do you get what I'm saying? You also have the millennials who are there, but they come from the obese dynasties, right? And I mean it in a technical sense of the word, meaning yung tatay niya nandun na, yung nanay niya nandito na, yung ganyan. So the millennials that we have are also not necessarily a progressive one or they're necessarily on their own merit. No offense to them, right? So that's what I'm saying. Again, it's not about cynicism. It's a question of like, wait, catch up time tayo. We need to get, things going, right? We need to get
Oh,
things going. Because a lot of the millennials I know are more like behind the scenes. They're like chief of staffs. There are strategies behind them. So like, okay, that's great, but you have to get in. Kaya nga, I love what you're doing. I love what Mark is doing, right? At least you're breaking the psychological barrier.
Yeah, but at the same time, ano, Richard, like for me kasi, ang pinakamahirap talaga dito ay, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about political dynasties, and why I believe that there is good and bad in it. Okay, first of all, ang problema kasi natin dito is kung ikaw ang tatay mo ay doktor, malaking posibilidad ikaw ay magiging doktor. Correct? Kung tatay mo ay artista, malaking posibilidad na magiging artista ka din, di ba? O kaya kung ang nanay mo ay isang architect na magaling, chances are you're going to be an architect. You see where I'm going with this, right? So I understand why political dynasties happen. Kasi pag nakikita mo yung magulang o yung isang family member mo that as a kid growing up, you see that you will tend to want to mimic or be in that same position that
Like
your
Baste
parents are
and
in.
Sara, like Baste and Polong in the case of Digong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that I think it's a good idea. I think there's good and bad in it. Okay? Now, having said that, okay, so let me first finish that train of thought lang. For example, I'll give you an example. You know naman who Carlo Ople is, di ba? Kilala mo si Carlo Ople, right? Grandson or is it son ni former Senator Blas Ople? He's not a politician. He's a very good speaker. If you hear him speak, magaling siya because he's heard his parents and grandparents speak and do public speaking and stand in front of people all day. And when he was a teen, he was made to do that. Sanay na siya. So he could have been a perfect candidate to be able to move to politics, but he didn't want to go into politics. So what I'm saying is that there is a good use to political dynasties in that aspect. Now, how do you break it? This is where we, you and me, people like us, vloggers that talk about politics, are able to inspire the youth to see that it is possible. Number one. Number two, it also starts with education. That yun ang pinakamahirap gawin sa ating edukasyon dito sa Pilipinas. Kadalasan ang edukasyon natin ay kulang sa pagbibigay ng iba't ibang mga options o mga pagpipilian ng ating mga kabataan sa mga career na gusto nilang puntahan. Kaya mga kadalasan mga kabataan, pag nakakausap ko sila, pag nag-iikot ako, alam mo gusto nila maging vlogger o artista. Sos, Mario Josep. I'm not putting down vloggers because we're vloggers. But what I'm saying is that they have nililimita ang imahinasyon ng ating mga kabataan dahil walang nagbibigay sa kanila ng mga tamang direksyon at oportunidad na makita ang mga iba't ibang profesyon tulad ng pagiging public servant. Yon. And that's where we need to start from that impressionable age of uh, 10 to 15. Kailangan nakikita na nila yon. So, that's probably how they should do it. Whether it can be done or not, I don't know. Is it easy? Probably not.
Well, I mean, again, yes, in theory, I see the idea na yung, well, this is very it's a very Filipino mythology, right? Like the mana will be passed from. It's actually a very Southeast Asian Oriental thing. The idea that the mana will be passed from the parents to the children. Like if you have the, I don't know, the mandate of heaven, if to put it in a Chinese way, it goes down, ganon. But as I said, I just all I have to do is to think of Baste and Polong and but going back to this. Okay, I have no. Okay, ganito na lang. That's why people make a distinction between lean and obese dynasties. Ano yung lean dynasty?
Yeah.
So for instance, I was interviewing si Congressman Geraldine Roman, right? And we were talking about dynasties. And then sabi niya, oh, hindi kami dynasty, ganun. Ganun. But I said, no, but you're a dynasty in the sense that, your family is, but sabi niya, but at least it's just, one, like one line. I said, oh yeah, you're not obese, sabi kong ganun. Which is like, yung tatay dito, yung nanay dito, yung kapatid dito,
Yep.
yung kabit dito, anak ng kabit dyan. Yun yung problema ko. Like, having lean dynasties, it's unavoidable, and sometimes even desirable. They're all once in a while, like, I don't know, Churchillian figures, and their children may be as smart as them. But there are also many cases of great parents and then horrible children, brat or
Yep.
depressed, or I mean, anak ni Gandhi. We can talk about, like, but my point is, there's really something peculiarly wrong in the Philippines because even compared to other Asian or Latin American countries who have similar backgrounds to us, ang taas ng concentration 70 to 80% of seats. And then ang taas nung hindi lang concentration of seats being won, but multiple seats simultaneously at multiple levels. So basically, binaboy na yung system. So I see where you're coming from, but for me, it's like we're way beyond that na. Hindi na tayo yung Jokno to Jokno, right? Like, I mean, for me,
Mm,
had the great Senator Jokno been around and then Chel Jokno become
right.
the senator, yeah, 100%. I have no problem with that, brother. Or even even with Pinoy, I didn't have super serious problem that the mom became president and he became president. But my point is that usually the better ones lean lang, and then the really
Yeah.
bad ones are the obvious. So yun yung, again, this is the empirical situation we're facing. Again, this is not an idealistic argument. It's just the empirics of it means. And then there's the aspect of it's economics, right? Market capture. Parang monopoly business, di ba? Syempre, sasabihin ng monopoly business, hindi, people love, the reason we are the only product in town is because we have the best product. But what they don't look at is they buy out and intimidate all of their rivals, kind of like Standard Oil, right? Back in the 19th century.
Yeah.
So I see it's similar. It's a market failure. In this case, it's an institutional political failure. Kumbaga parang oligopolistic or monopolistic practice na yan. Because alam natin when it comes to elections, it's not a question of merit or talino or speech. It's a question of resources, guns, gold, and goons in many parts of the Philippines. Maybe not in Metro Manila or some of the big cities, but marami sa ating mga probinsya, basically it goes down who got the biggest militia and
Yep.
vote buying machine. Unfortunately, that's the dark reality. So doon, I don't buy the dynasty argument that this is a mana being passed down. And I see it more like basically mafioso operation. This is like Palermo, Italy, 100 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, with that argument, I agree with you on that. Na especially nga yung the different dynamics of whether it's in Luzon versus kung sa Mindanao yan or sa Visayas, ano. And I wanted to actually add this lang, na yung napansin ko mga pala that one of the big problems we have is television and entertainment in general, and how entertainment actually shapes how we view people. And I think they play a big role in why we end up voting for the type of leaders that we have, creates the leaders that we have today. Malaki ang impluensya ng television sa atin hanggang ngayon. At yung pag tinignan mo yung mga palabas natin ngayon, palaging yung mga tema nila pareho na lang lagi yan. At dito mo nakikita na nasi-shape yung mga utak ng ating mga tao dahil sa mga nakikita nila, na tingin nila katotohanan. Ayan, kaya nga mga Lito Lapid, Bong Revilla, Jingoy Estrada, sino pa ba mga action stars yan? Ang dami-dami nila. Tapos yung mga tulad ni Willie Revillame, baka manalo nga yan eh. Kaya doon ako nababahala talaga pag nakikita ko yung mga ganyang mga programa na ipinapakita sa ating mga kabataan. And
But di ba the same yung problem, bro? Kasi napansin ko, even in the academe, supposed to be the most intellectual field, may patronage politics din eh. Even in the show,
okay,
patronage politics. I think the reason why napaka-stagnant, everything stagnant, political stagnant, media stagnant, even the academic stagnant, purong patron-patron game lang yan eh. Hindi siya merit-based eh. And I realize this is a toxic political culture we have developed at every dimension. You have been in the showbiz industry. I have had interaction with people in media and all. I work in mainstream media. Napansin ko, even there, may pagka-dynastic politics din eh. I mean, not in a literal sense of the word, pero parang yung bata ni ganito ay manager ng ganitong
yes.
department, si ganito ng director, yung bata niya, ganyan. Sila lang gumagawa ng movie, sila. I know it's not a merit-based system, to be honest. Barely a merit-based system. Kaya nga we got all these
Um,
mediocrities.
well, okay, so I'll give you some pushback on this. That happens in all industries. So hindi lang na, and there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing in here. I don't think there's like completely. I don't think it's completely a wrong thing. I think that's just an easier way to do it. Kasi when you're working in, just using showbiz as an example because that's the one you brought up, ano. Pag sa showbiz kasi, pag ginamit na lang isang producer na sanay sa isang artista na ginagamit niya, pabalik-balik lang sila doon dahil mas mabilis, nakatrabaho na nila, mas okay. At pag magrekomenda, dahil din doon sa mga ganung bagay, na mapagkakatiwala mo na pag nirekomenda ni ganun, ni ganyan, maayos yung trabaho. Ganun lang yon. So in any industry, this really happens. And yes, that is the primary way of doing it, but there's also the exceptions to the rule. May mga paraan naman na ginagawa ang ating industriya sa showbiz to be able to give chances to a lot of these up-and-comers na hindi dadaan sa mga politika na pinagsasabi natin ngayon. Tulad ng mga shows like Big Brother where you really get people out of nowhere that's like, oy, bam, we've got a star here. And then, yun na, the next big thing happens from there. So, may mga ganun naman. Sa politics nga, I want to also mention in politics, na, pag tinignan mo naman kasi, yung mga Villar, I'll give you as an example of the Villars. Yung unang tumakbo si Manny Villar, naalala mo, tumakbo siya for president and he lost. right? But that started his interest in politics. He had the money, he had the money to be able to do it. He had the manpower to do it, and then he was able to turn that into becoming a senator, 'di ba? So started with president, but the move for president, I think he knew he wasn't going to win, but he captured the minds of the people, and then from there became a senator, and then from there groomed na his kids to be able and his wife to be able to do it using his name. So now they're a dynasty, but they didn't start as a dynasty. It only was because pumasok
The
yung
dynasty
nanay.
yung other side, bro. The Las Piñas, the Aguilar, that side. Yun yung
Yeah,
dynasty. Yeah.
yes, oh, yun. Oh, yeah. But in terms of the Villar's themselves, yun na yun eh. Yung nanay at yung anak, okay. Tapos, pero yun na nga, I still, that doesn't mean that I want a Camille Villar to be on it. I really don't. I prefer na isa na lang nga. One is more than enough. But unfortunately, I mean, that we are a small voice in this big ocean of politics, and it looks like we're gonna have a lot of political dynasties in this new Senate that's gonna be coming up for 2025.
Well, dynasties are less my worry now than clowns. Total clowns winning over ang bigyan ng mag magpera o ba yung nayata tayo sa next. No, I want to say last thing. This is important because it's important who will be taking over seats in the Senate because the Sara impeachment almost certainly is a matter of the next Congress, right?
Yep.
Your understanding, bro, how important is it that we prevent the clowns from going in, and more importantly, the people who would want to get the Dutertes off the hook
Yeah.
and potentially worse, help the Dutertes to come back to power. Diba? Yun yung
Yeah.
state na
So
elections na to eh. This is not a usual midterm elections na referendum on the administration. This is really about the question of will the Dutertes be held accountable, or is it a Duterte comeback kind of dynamic soon?
yeah. So if you look at it right now, no, may mga lumalabas na surveys. I don't know how reliable these surveys are. That a certain percentage of Filipinos are actually planning to vote for or candidates that are against impeachment. Did you hear? Did you see these numbers? I don't know how accurate or
Yeah, well, there's no
honest.
legit numbers. Ano yan, these are propaganda fights.
Okay. So that's the thing, that kind of propaganda could help them. But if you look at the actual survey of the people that are going to be running and winning, mukhang mananalo naman karamihan are from the alyansa ng Bagong Pilipinas slate. And that's as much as I'm only voting for two or three of the people in that entire administration slate, I am still happy that it's not the other party. Because the other party is way worse than what we're going to be seeing coming into the Senate. Now, yung propaganda na nangyayari dito that's saying that people are only going to vote for senators that are against the impeachment. Yes, you're right. Propaganda nga yan. But at the same time, what I'm worried about is that it could influence some votes. But that's where the pushback happens, and that is where Marcos and that's our BBM should really push back that narrative and say, nope, there are more people that support the impeachment, and senators that they feel are supportive of impeachment are going to be the ones that people are going to vote for. Kailangan talagang i-counter mo yung mga ganyang mga fake news eh. Now, if you have to spin it away from the narrative they're trying to create.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And for me, I think make or break ito even for the Senate. If after all the hearings we saw, after all the expose, after everything, wala rin mangyari, and even worse, things will turn in the right. I think people will just lose faith na in our institutions. Na walang joke time na lahat to. Like no hearing really. I mean, the only hearings that produce a result were Riza Ontiveros hearings, right? Yun lang.
Yep.
Doon, kay Alice Go, kay Kibuloy, that's it. Name me how many
Yep.
other hearings, like Farmali hearings, all those blue ribbon commission, whatever. None of them really resulted in anything serious.
Yep.
So
And
my point is, kaya nawala ng pag-asa ng tao sa Senado, sa ating institusyon, sa ating demokrasya. So my bigger worry is a collapse in total confidence in our state institutions, especially as the Gen Zs come in and become the dominant bloc. Last point, this is where actually I appreciate these conversations because I think people tend to think that people like me who come from the academe and mainstream media were very traditional minded. But you know what? Actually, my take is a bit different on things. And that's why I like working with people like you among others, is because ako, ang basa ko talaga, remember the other day nag-trending sana all yung Singapore, di ba? Yung si Lawrence Wong, like squeaky clean, boom, 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 ganyan, Akin sa tingin ko, that kind of leadership won't work in most countries. First of all, Singapore is not a real democracy. So that's really a selection process among other
Yep.
things. But more importantly, I don't think we need leaders who are like IQ 180, Oxbridge graduates. And, you know, I mean, feeling ko medyo overrated na rin yung leadership na ganun eh. I mean, just look at high IQ people like Elon Musk and the mess they're creating. And or if
Huh.
you don't agree with Elon Musk, I can talk about other people. Ang dami mga Ivy League graduates and what they have done. For me, the leaders we need are, they have to have, of course, a minimum level of intelligence to absorb information para hindi sila mauto ng kanilang mga advisors, right? Because I didn't vote for the advisor. But I think leadership is way more than that. It's someone who can inspire, someone who can take pressure and stress, someone who's willing to take a risk, right? Push the envelope.
Yep.
So no, I don't agree that we need leaders like what Singapore has, because Singapore is a completely different model. It's not even a real democracy. It's a city-state. They can have this kind of a boys club, Eton club, like smarty, squeaky clean, Oxbridge guys. I don't think that will work for the Philippines, to be honest. And I'm saying as someone who throughout my life tried to be always like that kind of gold standard guy, write for the New York Times, go to the top schools, whatever. Pero ako, pag intindi ko nowadays, dapat relatable ka, bro. The most
Yeah.
important thing is to be spontaneous, relatable, and matapang ka. Because otherwise, all these degrees and squeaky cleanness, walang kwenta yan. Because our country, just like US, many other democracies, it's such a big mess, bro. You need a heavy lifting leadership.
Yeah. And ano, I'll add to that, ano, that if you look at naman, ano, a good example of what you just mentioned is Pinoy. Now, I use Pinoy as a good example because I don't look at Pinoy as a very smart guy. Okay.
Yeah, pretty
Not particularly
mediocre
smart.
background. Pretty mediocre background. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
mediocre and performance-wise mediocre. But what he did was inspire the people. At dito ako na-impress kasi because of how he inspired the people, maraming mga nagtrabaho sa kanya ng mga technocrats, ng mga magagaling, na marunong talaga magpatakbo ng mga iba't ibang parte ng ating gobyerno. At pumasok sila willingly, wholeheartedly, and they were so inspired and excited to make changes in our government. And the beauty of that was when Pinoy left, he left with a surplus in the budget, and the budget and the national debt, national deficit all improved during Pinoy's time. And I've met some of his cabinet secretaries that time. And I remember, I was like, wait, you were from the private sector. Bakit ka umalis sa private sector para pumunta dito? Wow. And then when you hear them say, na-inspire ako dahil kay Pinoy, I'm like, wow, that is what you call a leader if
Very
they
true.
can inspire
Very
people
true.
to do the changes that are necessary.
That's very true. I mean, speaking of the Pinoy administration, look at people very close to me. Ronald Llamas, di man lang nag-graduate, di ba? Parang Ronald Llamas is one of the most sensible and sharpest political minds in the country.
Yes.
Kahit hindi siya nag-graduate. Like, I love that guy. Sabi niya, ako lang yung secretary na wala man lang diploma. Like, that's my point. It's not about squeaky clean,
Yep.
impressive Oxbridge. Like, oh, it's good to have them. There's nothing wrong. But my point is, ultimately comes down to EQ, spontaneity, and courage and all. Because the smart ones will come. You're absolutely right. I remember during Pinoy's time, there were many seniors I had, medyo bata pa ako nun who were coming back from abroad, working in Silicon Valley, working in London City. They would coming back and they would work. And in fact, again, I don't know what's your view on that. They wanted to do the same if Maro has had one Dow. Anyway, we can have a longer. But the idea was that, if you have leaders like that, kahit hindi sila perfect, may pagka-mediocre, whatever, because ultimately they're noble obliged, their heart is in the right place, will bring in the smart people, and the smart people would love to work for the government. Parang nakaka-proud daw to work for government back in the day. And then Digong came and
Yep.
the rest is history. So, absolutely. I really like this conversation kasi sawang-sawa na ako na, oh, we need something like Norway, like Singapore, like New Zealand. Like, no, bro, hindi. It won't work, bro. It won't work. Right? Like, we're like
Yeah.
that kind of a gritty football team that needs a coach na hindi lang matalino sa analytics, pero yung kailangan niya magbardagulan to get the team going, right? This is not like,
Yeah.
I feeling ko our ideas of leadership are very, very narrow. We don't need another Obama. I think the
I mean,
Obama
yeah, but
is over. Yeah.
pero alam mo, Richard, I just have to add to that, ano, that kasi remember that Norway and Singapore are very, very small countries, easier to manage. That's why a lot of Nordic countries are very successful because they're very easy to manage. They're very small countries, or basically their population is the size of only like certain states in the
Mandaluyong.
US.
Sige
Or
ba?
yeah,
Oh,
sure,
Mandaluyong.
even a city, right, in the Philippines. Yan ang size ng buong bansa nila. So, parang nagpapatakbo ka lang talaga ng isang isang lungsod compared sa isang bansa. Kaya hindi mo talaga mako-compare yon. That's like comparing apples to oranges. When you're trying to manage a massive population like the Philippines, wow, it creates a lot of different problems. And that's how you need somebody who can unify people and inspire people to be able to act for the betterment of everyone.
Absolutely. On that very encouraging notes, I think we kind of agree. Like again, I'm not saying we need another digong na sabog. Ayun natin ng bangag. Ayun natin ng, alam mo naman, yung hindi niya alam yung basics. No, we want the president who may be mediocre even from a certain standard point, but has the courage, has the heart in the right place, can inspire the right people, get good advice. Kaya sabi ko, for me, like Ronald Llamas is probably the smartest political affairs secretaries we have seen in our era, and hindi siya graduate at all, right? Like so, like that's my point. Like I love the guy, and he has made that the badge of honor. And there's so many leaders. Lula in Brazil, he's not even a high school graduate. Forget about college. And I think is the best president Brazil has had. Maybe people don't agree with me because I'm too leftist for them, but I can give many examples of these people who don't have the usual squeaky
Yep.
qualifications, but they did so much more for their country than a lot of these people. Having said that, I don't want clowns. I don't want yung siya pa yung galit. You tell me anong batas ang ilalagay. No, no, no. That's not what I mean. Remember, Pinoy was not like that. I mean, he had the minimum intelligence and all. Ibang usapan yung clowns. So that's what, no to clowns, but we also don't need like genius level. We need like a level-headed, courageous leader, relatable leader, and most importantly, brave leader to get things going. Salamat, bro, for your inspiring conversation, because you're a man in the ring. I mean, hindi ito like this is not just a pakwit lang tayong dalawa. You are a man in the ring, so when you talk with an authority. Mabuhay ka, brother, and looking forward to catching up in person. Tuloy natin itong mga conversation natin, and congratulations on your campaign. Is there anything you want to add on your campaign? For ano na, may website ka na
Um,
for volunteers and
Ay,
all?
pare, you need to teach me pala how to do that,
Ayan.
that thing you were telling me. Yeah, I
Yeah,
need that.
Substack. It's just like blog lang. It's just a basic, ano. Sayang,
Sige,
sobrang
sige.
dali. I'll send you a link. Yeah, it's just Substack. Sayang, bro. I'm sure many would love to help you and be part of whatever you're doing in these elections and beyond. Because, ako kasi sabi ko, kilusan ang kailangan natin. We need the movement. It's not
Yeah.
about you winning office, me winning office. It's about us putting something together eventually and pushing things in the right direction. And only then I think the Philippines really can fully fulfill its potential. Otherwise, wala. It's gonna be away lang ng usual dynasties and usual suspects. On that note, thank you very much, brother. And hopefully by the next time we have a conversation, Harry Roque is completely within our area of responsibility, so we can have a more direct analysis of the situation. Very nice, very nice. Beautiful, beautiful. Talk to
All
you.
right.
Salamat.